Is it time to turn out the lights on daylight saving time? Good morning, 9:05 on a Monday. It is so good to have you here on KCMO Talk Radio. So Trump kickstarted this conversation late on Friday when, in classic Trump fashion, everyone's kind of getting ready for the weekend, and he's like, we're eliminating daylight saving time, just out of nowhere. And it's great for my industry because then it gives us something else to chatter about all weekend on social media. So what Trump put on his Truth Social late on Friday read, the Republican Party will use its best efforts to eliminate daylight saving time, which has a small but strong constituency, but shouldn't. Daylight saving time is inconvenient and very costly to our nation. So what Trump wants is he wants to, and what he is proposing here is to keep us on standard time. That is what we are currently on. He does not want to have the clocks spring forward in March, and he says it's costly to our nation. I would be curious to know, I would be open to it if I hear about how it's costly to our nation. I don't know why it's costly to our nation. I'm open to eliminating it if it's costly to our nation, but there was no explanation as to why it's costly to our nation. But what it did is it sparked a debate. Do you like the clocks sprung forward, or do you like them falling back? Right now, we are in what is just standard time. We are not in daylight saving time. We're in a standard time right now, and what that means, of course, is that, well, you get less sun in the afternoons. It's basically dark right now by give or take 5 o'clock here in Kansas City. But then what it also means is the sun is up earlier because, of course, we go through that awkward time in October where we have kids getting on the school bus and it's pitch black out at 7:30. So for me, I put on Facebook on Saturday morning that I want to spring ahead and never look back. But I totally admit that that has since been a wrong take. Being here in Kansas City, now this will differ based on where you live. I will add that as well, and I'll explain that here coming up in a minute. But being here in Kansas City, I believe it's best, if we're selfishly just looking out for Kansas City, that we stay on standard time. Because as many of you noted to me, having the kids spend the winter potentially going to school in the dark to maybe get some sunlight at the end of the day till 5:30 or 6, well, that doesn't seem like a very safe situation. And that was one of the selling points for me. The other selling point is I don't need it light out until 9 p.m. I don't. I'm fine with it if we, and I looked this up, I got the city-by-city breakdown. If we were on standard time in the summer, we would have a sunset in June at 7:47 p.m., which really means you could play golf or do outdoor activities till at least 8 o'clock every night. Please tell me why you need 9 p.m. Please. There is no justification for why you need it to be light out until 9 p.m. in the summertime in the middle of June. You don't. Now, the sunrise would be earlier. The sunrise in June would be at 4:42 a.m. in Kansas City. That would be very early. I understand. Now, selfishly, I'm up anyway, so I'm like, whatever. It doesn't much matter to me. But you can't sit there and say, well, it's going to be sunny too early. Get blackout curtains. That's what I use in summertime. I have to. I'm going to sleep, and it's still light out in June. So either end of it, you can justify using blackout curtains. It doesn't matter. You're either going to need them in the morning, depending on your schedule, or at night, depending on your schedule, John.
Or get your butt out of bed. We need to be more active as a nation because our health standard is below average, right?
Or wake up to RFK yelling at you on your Alexa device with his raspy voice. You could do that as well. You can go out for a run at 5 in the morning in June because it'll basically be broad daylight at 5 a.m. So I got convinced by some of you on Facebook to prefer standard time, at least for Kansas City, over daylight saving time. So I would be on board with this. Now, if you're in a city like Boston, well, you wouldn't want standard time to be permanent. I have a brother who lives up in Boston, and this time of year, it is getting dark at like 3:45. It is a miserable place to be. They would want, on the East Coast probably, especially the Northeast, they would prefer that it's always in daylight saving time because they don't get as much sunlight as we get late in the day here in Kansas City. So, like right now, if we were in standard time permanently in Boston and we never pushed the clocks forward, Boston would have a sunrise in June at 4:07 a.m. And they would have a sunset at 7:25 instead of it being at 5 a.m. and 8:25 when they spring forward. They're basically having the sunrise in the 3 a.m. hour. That would be pretty awful. But for Kansas City, sign me up for standard time, so sign me up for Donald Trump's proposal of getting rid of daylight saving time. But I know that's not going to be popular with some of you. 913-408-7957. 913-408-7957. Which side are you on? Marcus in Kansas City. What's up, Marcus? You're on KCMO.
Hi, Pete. I'm a retired master electrician out of IBW, and I've got a really good reason. It does cost a lot of money, daylight savings time.
And why is that?
Well, when I was an electrical contractor, I would have to go out to industrial plants, stuff like that, and change all the relays to coincide with daylight savings time. That in and of itself costs the nation millions and millions of dollars. I mean,
now is that still a thing, or is that automatically done now, or do you guys still have to go out there and do that stuff?
No, you cannot. Well, you can and you can't. On some systems, you can. On others, you have to manually reset the relay transfer switches, and it's and the industry has to pay for that.
Wow. Okay, so there is a cost to industry at large, you would say.
Absolutely. I retired off of it. Well, not all of that, but yeah, absolutely.
Well, all right. Well, that's certainly an angle of it I didn't think about. 913-408-7957. 913-408-7957. Trump says eliminate daylight saving time. And at first I said, no, spring it forward and never look back. But the more I thought about it, the more I heard from you guys on my Facebook page. I said, you know what? For Kansas City's sake, keep it in standard time. Kids aren't going to school in the dark in the winter. We get plenty of sunlight as is in the summertime. It's already light, even if you just kept it in standard time until basically 8 p.m. in June. How much more do you need? And as John said, get your butt out of bed early in the summertime and go work out or something. Get healthy.
Well, in this era, too, I can turn the brightness up on my phone flashlight to light Kauffman Stadium here. Freaks the cats out. I'm looking for something in the dark, and I've got it up to 10, and they scatter.
Yeah.
So, we can make it light if we need to. We don't need the sun.
Yes, I'm with you there. 913-408-7957. I'll get to your calls and texts. The text line is blowing up as well here, so I will get to that here on 95.7 FM. And also, there has been a push for this in Congress, but the push was on the opposite side of where Trump is at right now. We'll get to that coming up on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio, and streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app. Standard time or daylight saving time? Which side are you on? 913-408-7957. Kevin Keatsman just walked in. I know he's not happy with me. He's trying to play as much golf as he can until 9 p.m. every night. So send him in if you guys want. If you want to ship him into the studio here, send him in, put him on a mic, whatever he wants to do, send him on in.
Here he comes.
Yeah,
he's coming around. He's going to make the case. All right, I'm fine with that. I knew he was going to be unhappy with me over
I'm
this.
more like leave it on the daylight time myself and change school time.
Change school time. All
Maybe.
right, Kevin, turn on the mic. All right, you got the mic on for me there, Mark? All right, let it go. Let it rip, big guy.
I mean, you just want people to be sleeping when the sun is up and awake when it's dark?
Well, no, it depends on your sleep schedule.
4:42 in the morning. It comes up in June.
Get up.
Most
get
people
after it.
Get up. We don't all do a morning show. Come on. What in the world? Rubio's the one behind permanent daylight
He
savings.
wants permanent daylight saving.
And
yeah.
he wants it in Florida because people vacation there in the winter. And you take your kids to Disney World and it gets dark at 5:15. Nobody wants that.
That I understand,
The
yeah.
kids
It's
don't
good for
get up
Florida.
in the dark and go to Disney World. They're going to
Yeah.
sleep in a little bit, have some breakfast. Extend that day.
Yes.
Same thing with my golf season every summer. Same thing for everybody. We don't want to sleep when the sun is out and be awake when it's dark.
Well, are more people likely to sleep when the sun is out if it gets up early versus whether it goes down late?
I've never even heard discussion of keeping it permanently at standard time. All I've ever heard is permanently changing it to daylight saving. I actually thought Trump made a mistake on his post. I think he posted it wrong.
You think he posted it wrong?
I do. I think because everybody in Florida wants to extend it.
Correct.
For
Yes.
tourism.
Yes.
Now, that's the southernmost part of our country. Where it's a real problem is Minneapolis. And
Yes.
as you talk about Boston and places like that, it's a huge problem for those people. It's just awful. They
Yes.
definitely want to go to permanent daylight. Well, if the southernmost part of our country wants it daylight,
So
we should probably listen to him.
You think that Trump is backwards in what he's trying to say?
I just think he said we're going to end it. What he doesn't want to do is move the clocks. I get that. The guy that called in a couple minutes ago, he's like, that's right. For some businesses, there's probably money involved in changing all that around.
Yeah.
You got to at least pay an IT person or do whatever.
Yeah.
I can see where there's money involved in that. But it doesn't matter whether it's standard or daylight. If we don't ever change it, those companies won't have to spend that money
True.
ever again.
Yes, yes,
So
exactly.
it doesn't make a difference.
Yes.
I just think maybe Trump has it wrong.
I didn't think about that angle of it. It's very possible, though. You're right.
I tweeted, I was like, is this what he really wants to do? Does he want to end it or does he want to make it permanent? I couldn't tell. I've never heard of anybody say they want to end it. I just hear people want to make the daylight part permanent.
Yes, I've heard that as well. And some people are saying just start school later.
And John's great. He's exactly right. So 1st of November, you just push school back an hour.
Yeah.
Why not?
Problem is now these kids get home. I got a 5-year-old that gets home at 4:15 in the afternoon.
Is
That's
that late?
insane. Yeah. I mean, for 5-year-olds, I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
but that's a whole separate topic,
That's-
right? With the schools and
that's-
how long these kids are at school. It's just crazy.
Like all-day kindergarten?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's just a long day.
I
But,
hear you.
But that is a separate topic. I mean, in a perfect world, there's no reason for 5-year-olds to be in
But
school
you've
that
nailed
long.
it. The only excuse or reason I've ever heard for standard time is kids at bus stops. That's the
Yes.
only legitimate thing I've heard. It's like, okay, you don't want to send your kids out in the dark, but you know what? If they're too young to go out there to the bus stop and you're worried that it's dark, you probably should be going with them anyway.
Yeah. Well, and that's what we do. Get them on the bus in one piece,
Yeah.
you know?
Exactly.
All right. Well, Kevin's
Come
in.
on.
He's on the daylight saving train. He's got to be playing that golf. I mean, I may feel that way when I'm in your part of my life, but when you got little kids, I'm not really thinking about my golf handicap right
No,
now.
I'm not worried about my handicap either. There's golf trip places you can go, like in Norway and Alaska and places where you can play 24 hours a day.
That is crazy.
In the summer. Like they shut it down maybe for like 30 minutes at night and cut the greens or something, but it's just all night golf.
Oh my gosh. That's like, there's a town up in Alaska that's now dark for the next 50 days.
Right.
But then they'll be light for 50 days. In June.
Golf all night long.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. Well, let's see. Let's get to the phones. 913-4087-957. Let me see. Let's go to Ed. He's in Raytown. What's up, Ed? You're on KCMO.
Yeah, Pete, thank you for taking my call. I look at it this way. We got a motel of 300 rooms or a hospital, and you can do 10 clocks or 10 changes in an hour, minimum wage of $25 an hour. That's a lot of money. Because I know when I was in a hospital during the last change, it was a week before my clock got changed in my room.
Well, you want to say this employs people by having clock changers working around the country.
Yes, I know, and there'll probably be a union for that, too.
Well, yeah, I'm sure there's a sweet union for that, Ed. Here's what I would say in response. Thank you, brother. What I would say in response to that is, what is the cost of the business? And that is what a previous caller was referring to. That is what Kevin and I were also just talking about. What is the cost of the business to have union workers, IT guys, whoever it might be, changing clocks for whatever your business is? 913-4087-957. I got this text from somebody in the Kansas legislature, and he made the case that Kevin was just making. Says here, Pete, as a commerce fan, we need to stay in daylight saving time. That means spring it forward and stay there. It is proven to be worth billions to our economy to have an extra hour of daylight. He writes to me, we consume more stuff, from youth sports to shopping to restaurants. It gets us out of the house. Besides, he writes, it's an extra hour of day drinking. That is very well done. Okay. All right. See, once again, and I know who this text came from. I don't know if he wants me rolling him under the bus or not, so I won't do it. But, if I'm in that phase of life, I'm all for it, man. And I admit maybe my bias of my lifestyle is getting in my way here. Maybe as a guy who's got 3 little kids, who also happens to do a morning show, maybe my bias is getting in the way. And I'm fine to go through this therapy session on the air and realize, maybe I'm off base on this. I'm happy to hear the pitch.
As somebody who has kids and wakes up early like you, I'm fine with the darkness early in the morning because we're just in the studio, It doesn't matter to us that much. We're not going to be outside doing anything.
So you're with Kevin. You want the daylight saving time.
Yeah, I'm with Kevin, I think.
I just can't get over staring out the window at 8:45 at night in June and being like, hey, looks like it's 5 p.m. I don't know. It's weird to me. I'm not saying it's, the worst thing in the world. It's odd to me. I'm not going to lie. All right, Daryl, go ahead, big boy.
Hey, Pete. I was going to let you guys know that changing that clock don't really make much difference because that sun comes up and down at its own time. So, actually, if they just leave the clocks alone, they would be better off because it's going to change no matter what. So, it's just a royal pain in the butt.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, that sun, it's just a season change, It ain't the clock that's changing the time to go to work and wake up. If they just leave it alone, people will feel a lot better and won't be near as stressed out,
Yeah. Yep. No, I get it. I understand. Thank you very much there, Daryl. Let's go to Doug in Overland Park. What's up, Doug?
Hey, Pete. There's one really big benefit, I believe, for the daylight savings time side because they originally moved it back in the day to help the farmers to work longer. Well, that's still true. And I know down in South Central Kansas, where I come from, there's a lot of stuff going on in that last hour because it's not dark 30 in the morning. You already got your employees there. It's hard to get them there 4:30, but it really does give the farmers an extra hour. So let's pray forward and stay there.
That is a great case to make. The ag angle is a strong one to make. And you're right. I mean, a lot of it dates back to the farmers, but I was going down, I don't want to call it the rabbit hole, but I was doing some research and reading about it over the weekend. I kind of got weirdly obsessed with the topic. And it was first adopted as a wartime measure in 1942. So that was the main driver of it. But now, doing it all these years later doesn't make sense. On the text line, Pete, why don't we just shift it by a half hour? Everyone's happy. Okay. Then you got to reset the world clock, I think.
I can't find the reset switch on my pets either. Another reason to leave it.
One thing I will agree with everybody on is not changing them twice a year. Because that is the one thing with little kids. Oh, my gosh, what a mess. They are out of whack for at least 2 or 3 days.